Hello and welcome to the Sheep Showmanship. Today we would like to welcome our judge, Travis Stanley. Our first class will consist of Brayden Cooney, Aspen Courtney, Nolan Courtney, Ali Gonzalez, Lexi Hickson, Cecilia Huckabee, Evan McKinnon, Aubrey McWilliams, Connor Ramberg, Willow Rooster, AJ Sharkey, Skitty Smith, and Charles Swartz. Judge, this is your class.
What do you guys think of the juniors? So this is our only class of juniors, so this will be the final as well. I'll pick out your top 5 juniors and then we'll come back and give ribbons to the rest of the class. But a really good group of juniors. We had a few little issues, especially with animals maybe not working quite as well as maybe they could have, but I think as a whole, the juniors did a really nice job. I'll come back and talk about each of the individuals just a little bit and kind of what I saw. But as far as the juniors, like I said, did a nice job. I'll go pick your grand and reserve and 1 through 5, and then we'll come back and talk about the individuals just a little bit. Let's give them a big round of applause. They did a nice job. Okay, I'll come back to them in just a second. There's 3 individuals down here at this end that I think are really good showmen. The 2 young ladies and the young man right here in the middle. I think pretty good showmen. Really a lot of things. The things I would say is a little bit more nitpicky on where you're setting feet and legs. Making sure that their legs are always set up a little bit more correct. Maybe bracing up your lambs just a little bit more of the time. But I think 3 really solid showmen that obviously know their way around their lambs. We just want to get some finesse and some fine details on where you're putting those lambs, how you're holding heads just a little bit and getting feet and legs just a little bit more correct. All 3 of these are going to be in my blue ribbons, obviously, because they're just that kind of showman. Let's give them a nice round of applause. As we go through here, I'm going to start to talk about the other individuals. The young lady right here, I think doing a pretty nice job getting this lamb. This lamb really doesn't want to set up for you very well. It doesn't really like its feet and legs set up very well. It always seems like it's just a little bit off. Even now you look at it, it really doesn't want to show itself. It doesn't want to pick its head up. It doesn't want to keep its hind legs set up very well for you. And so as we go through here. I think in juniors, I think you're doing a nice job. I just don't know if I can get you into that next ribbon class for the way that this lamb is working for you quite well today. So I'm going to leave you in my reds today. We just don't have those fine details to get you up into that next class. And red ribbons to me are just a little bit more average type of a showman. You don't have that fine detail. You don't have that finesse on where exactly we're setting feet and legs. Not to be detrimental at all doesn't mean you're a bad showman by any means. It just means that we want to get just a little bit more in terms of getting into that next ribbon color. I think the young lady's done a nice job. She's obviously fit that lamb up pretty well for fair. Let's give her a nice round of applause. The next young man in line here, probably doing a little bit better job on setting feet and legs, and I'm really appreciative of that. For me, a little bit better on head placement where you're sitting that head just a little bit. This lamb's a little tough because it kind of wants to pull back against you, and he just never seems to set his head and neck quite right for you. That being said, just a really solid type of a showman. He's going to be in my blues today for how well he set that lamb up. Let's give him a nice round of applause. Next young man in line, another one of those ones where you just want to see feet and legs set up a little bit better. This lamb just has a tendency to get those legs really far back, really spread apart. Doesn't want to lead off real well for you. You cut corners just a little bit. Part of this lamb, he's kind of pulling on you this way and that way. That being said, I'm just going to leave you in my reds today, just a little bit more average in the way that lamb showed off for you today. Let's give him a nice round of applause as well. Last two I'm going to talk about just kind of as a pair. The young man here, I don't think you need that halter on. I think you would do just as well without the halter and everything. If you do have that halter on, go ahead and switch hands when you're leading as well, because it almost is a little awkward when you're trying to lead with that opposite hand when you're trying to walk across the ring. And that being said, just a little bit better on where you're setting feet and legs. He's going to be in my reds today as well. Let's give him a nice round of applause. He did a nice job. I was back and forth on this young lady because the lamb, when you get this lamb set up, you do a nice job. The lamb doesn't always want to set up for you. It doesn't really want to stay for you as well as some of the other lambs. So I went back and forth. But I think you showed me enough that I'm going to bump you into that next ribbon class into the blues because you were setting feet and legs enough for me to get you into that next ribbon category. Let's give her a nice round of applause. Okay, let's talk about our top 5 up here. Pretty competitive group. That lamb helped you out a lot in this class. When she sets, she just stays there. She doesn't hardly move. She doesn't really walk around. She doesn't fidget too much. Front end, maybe get your front end apart just a little bit, and then try not to rock back on that head so much. You have a tendency to almost push that lamb back a little bit, and part of it's because you're wanting it to brace into your leg, but you're almost using the head a little bit to go backwards for me. That being said, he's probably the most consistent of all the juniors in the class. Always had that lamb set up the same exact way every time I looked at that lamb, and that's what put you in the grand here this morning in my mind. How about a hand for your grand championship? I wish that lamb would have worked a little bit better for you in this class. Reserve, you had to work to try and get that lamb set up because every time you put that lamb in a set, it moved. And then it moved again. You can tell the young lady's doing a nice job. I wish that lamb was bracing against you, not wanting to brace, not wanting to set up real well for you, but you can tell every time she gets that lamb set up correct, it is absolutely correct. And I was appreciative of that. How about a hand for yours? Third, fourth, and fifth, honestly, you could come in here and flip a coin and pick any one of you and it'd be right for the next one in line. I went with the young lady down here in the blue jacket. For me, I would have liked to have seen you set that lamb up just a little bit better, especially on those front feet and legs from where you're at. It still doesn't want to brace into you real well. That being said, you were probably the most consistent of the next 3 of how you set that lamb up. Young man that I put into fourth, for me again, set those feet and legs just a little bit better more often than the time. Had a little bit of struggle trying to get the lamb around. at times, and then really make sure that that lamb doesn't want to come up on that top. Make sure you level out that top, and don't let that lamb get lazy too much. The young lady that I put into fifth, she probably would have been up in that third or second spot had that lamb even wanted to set for you at all in this class. Every time you set the lamb, especially on the hind legs, you would come back and try and set that lamb up, and just doesn't want to set, wants to get real close. Braces all right into you when he actually braces, but he just fidgets, doesn't want to lead around for you super well. But at the same time, like I said, those other three, you can come in and kind of flip them any way you want to. How about a hand for your top five?
Congratulations to our grand champion, who will be receiving a chair sponsored by Rocky Mountain Packers 4-H Club and the opportunity to show in the senior class, Levi Hickson. Our reserve champion today was Aspen Courtney. Third place, Aubrey McWilliams. Fourth place, Charlie Schwartz. Fifth place, Scotty Smith. Receiving a blue ribbon today is Braden Cooney. Nolan Courtney receiving a red. Ali Gonzalez receiving a blue. Cecilia Huckabee receiving a red. Evan McCannon receiving a red. Connor Ramberg receiving a blue. Willow Rooster receiving a blue. AJ Sharkey receiving a blue. Moving on to our first class of novice today, we have Brady Caton, Oliver Caton, Jesse Jensen, Brianna Lee, Amy McGarth, Malin Rooster, Dominic Sandberg, Francis Scherger, Augusta Stanford. Judge, this is your class.
How about a hand for our first class of novice? As a group, I think did pretty well. We've got some individuals in here that I think are going to go on and do fairly well. The more experience they get, the better off that they get in terms of coming in the ring and setting some feet, legs, and everything like that. But I think as the first novice group, really a strong showing for our first class of novice. They did a nice job. So I'm going to have a couple of callbacks from this class to go for callbacks from the other classes. And so then I'll come back and I'll talk about each of the individuals and hand out theirs. But we'll go ahead and talk about these callbacks in that later class. I won't talk about them now. No particular order. Young lady right here in front of me, and the young lady down here at this end. I'm going to come through and talk because there is a few other individuals in this class that did a really good job. Two individuals I think doing a really nice job here in the middle, or in the end now. Maybe just a little bit better on where you're setting feet and legs, being able to get that lamb around just a little bit better in control, and the young lady here a little bit better on setting feet and legs and where you're setting feet and legs. I think both of you did a nice enough job for me today that you're going to be in that blue ribbon class. I just want to see a little bit more finesse to get you into that callback. Let's give them a nice round of applause. This next individual for me I really struggled with because you do a really nice job, and this lamb actually helps you out quite a bit in this class. When you get this lamb set up, you do a really nice job with this lamb. This lamb kind of walks into a set for you. You don't have to fiddle with the legs too much, and when that lamb stays there, he stays set up, and I appreciate that. A little bit better maybe on getting that lamb around the ring, a little bit more controlled. But at times I went back and forth, and I think for me and novice, for the amount of effort that you put in, I'm going to bump you into that next ribbon class today and put you into the blues. Let's give him a nice round of applause. Next young lady in line, I think you use that halter as a little bit of a safety when you don't need it. I think you have enough control, you do a nice enough job. And the hard part about bright colored halters like that is it takes full attention right to the head of that lamb. That being said, maybe a little bit better on where you're setting hind legs. I still think you go into the blue category pretty easily today. But for me, just a little bit better on maybe where you're setting that lamb up to get you into that callback class today. But I think she does a nice enough job. She gets into that blue category today. Let's give her a nice round of applause. You had a workout. That lamb doesn't lead very well, does it? No. Never let go. I appreciate that. You did a nice job. But it is really tough to try and show a lamb like that. You put in as much effort as anybody in the class, and I really do appreciate that. For me, I wish that lamb would have worked better for you. You would have been upwards in this class. That lamb didn't want to set for you, didn't want to lead for you, didn't really want to do much of anything for you in the class. So I'm going to leave you in the reds today just because I really wanted to see some more skills. That lamb didn't let you show off because you had to fight with that lamb so much. But I think you did an absolute stellar job of working that lamb to the best of your ability. So let's give that young man a nice round of applause. Next one in line, maybe just a little bit better on where you're setting feet and legs. I want to see that lamb set up a little bit more direct more often than time. Another one, I don't think you need the halter. I think you kind of use that as a safety. You have plenty of control of that lamb throughout the entire class. And like I said to that young lady up there, it detracts because it takes all of your attention up to that halter and to that front end of that lamb when the focus should be on the balance and everything else. And like I said, I think you do a nice enough job without that halter to come in. That being said, a little bit better on feet and legs. This lamb does a nice job of standing, and it will stand. So I went back and forth. A little bit more average, so maybe I'm going to leave you in my reds today, but I think a couple more times into the show ring, and you're going to be in that blue ribbon category and possibly callbacks after that. Let's give him a nice round of applause. Young man here, it's always tough when you come in first in the class because it either kind of makes or breaks your showmanship. I think he's easily into that blue ribbon class today. I just wanted to see you come in here and line up a little bit more correctly. That first go out, and it's one of those things that sticks in your head throughout the entire class. A little bit better on how you're holding the front end and where you get the front end set in the slam. But that being said, I still think I'm into that blue ribbon class today.
With purple ribbons coming back today, we have Amy McGarth and Malin Rooster. With a blue ribbon, Brady Caton. With a red, Oliver Caton. With a blue, Jesse Jensen. With a blue, Brianna Lee. With a blue, Dominic Sandberg. With a blue, Francis Schreiber. And with a red, we have Augustus Stramford. Coming in for class number 2 of novice showman, we have Annie Karras, JC Durham, Emily Leishman, Luke Leishman, Leah McCannon, Ember Richmond, Raylyn Sandberg, Bristol Steedman, and Brett Schwartz. Brett Schwartz, you will be added to class 3. Judge, this is your class.
in the second novice. Another really good group in terms of being consistent and showing off their lambs as a group, and I really appreciated that. Obviously, we've got some things that we could work on, but you know, I'm not going to be too critical on here. I think as a group, they did a really excellent job, and really nice to see these two classes, a novice, and I know the next one will be just as good. I'm going to have two callbacks from this class to go for that overall round. Young lady right here, and the other young lady right here. And we'll talk about those callbacks in their particular class, but I'm going to come back down here. The young lady that I have down here at this end with this ewe lamb, you do a really good job of being calm and getting this lamb around. I appreciate that. Maybe just a little bit better on setting feet and legs. The lamb does a really good job of standing for you, so go ahead and set those feet, especially the front feet, up just a little bit more correct. But I think she did a good enough job for me. She's going to be in my blues today. Let's give her a nice round of applause. Next two in line, I think both just kind of solid showmen. The young man here really had a struggle trying to lead her around. She's a little bit bigger lamb, and she likes to push on you just a little bit. And that being said, you know, you didn't try and do too much, but always watching me, always watching this lamb. The young lady here, I think, setting feet and legs just a little bit better. Getting those hind legs set up correct on this lamb is a little bit of a challenge. And when you do it, you do a nice job, but I just would like to see a little more consistency in setting those feet and legs. For me, though, I think both the individuals are going to end up in my blues today. They both did a nice enough job. Let's give them a good. Young lady with this ewe lamb here, a little bit tougher to try and show. A lamb that just doesn't want to stand for you very well, doesn't want to set up for you very well. She does a really good job of trying to handle that lamb about as much as she can. Always watching the lamb though, always watching me, and I appreciate that. I really went back and forth with where I put this young lady. That being said, she put in a lot of effort, and it is the novice class as well. And so as we go through here, I think I'm going to bump her up, even though a few little mishaps, but I'm going to bump her up into that blue ribbon class today. Let's give her a nice round of applause. Young man here, you know, I'm going to say the same thing that I said to you in the previous novice classes. I don't think you need that halter on. I think you do it just as a safety, and you had plenty of control of her all through the class. And I'm not just saying that you know, I don't want to see halters. I mean, yes, it shows control, but at the same time, the three individuals I've talked to, they don't need them. They've got enough control over the top of those lambs. Set in front feet a little bit better at the time. Make sure that front end is really set up, because that does set the line for the rest of the body of that lamb. And then coming over here to the young lady, that lamb does not want to lead for her very well, and she struggles with trying to lead that lamb off. You put in a lot of effort, you do a nice job, but it never really gave you the opportunity to set your feet and legs like maybe you wanted to with this lamb. Just because you had to work so hard to get a hold of that lamb and keep a hold of that lamb. That being said, I think both of them in the novice class, they still showed enough effort to me. We're going to put them both into the blues today. Let's give them a nice round of applause.
Our two purples in that class are Annie Karras and Raylan Sandberg. We have JC Durham with the blue, Emily Lushman with the blue, Luke Lushman with the blue, Liam McCannon with the blue, Ember Richmond with the blue, and Roscoe Seaman with the blue. Coming in for our third class of novice showmen today, we have Ellie Block, Macy Gonzalez, Kaylin Merritt, Gabe Murphy, Tegan Reed, Tyler Ruff, June Scriber, Henson June Scriber, Timothy Scriber, and Brett Schultz.
again, I was not disappointed in this group at all. Really good group of novices as a whole. Again, a little bit more consistency on how we're setting feet and legs and getting these lambs around, but that will come with experience and the more and more you do it. So I'm going to have a couple of callbacks from this class to go for that overall novice. And I think in my mind, just some individuals that were a little bit more consistent on how they were showing their lambs. Again, in no particular order, it's going to be this young lady down here at the end. Young lady with the lamb right here. And the young lady right here. Okay, I'm going to come back and talk about this young lady down here. Because this weather lamb is just, that about sums up your entire class right there. So, hopefully you guys will appreciate this. There's two truths in life that I really like to tell people, and usually I don't say this over the microphone, but boys are dumb, girls are mean. It's hard to argue with those two statements, and he's being a little dumb, okay? That just really sums it up for him. He just does not want to do anything you want him to. I think you're a better showman than he lets you exhibit. I have a real hard time getting you up there any further in this class. I think for me, you know what you're doing, but you just can't do it with him in this class out here. Obviously, you have some more experience to gain as we go along here, but that being said, for the amount of effort, you kept a good attitude. I'm going to nudge you up into the blues today just for putting up with that. Next young man in line here, you know that lamb is complete opposite. That lamb will just do anything you want it to. It comes into a stand, it just stands there. I mean, he's barely touching that lamb, and it just is holding right there for him. A little bit better on where you're setting feet and legs, especially the hind legs. You need to get those apart just a little bit, accentuate some of that leg muscle and that thickness when viewed from behind. That being said, get that head up just a touch. Because you don't want that lamb to come down in that neck out of that shoulder and then come back up. And so I went back and forth, but obviously you worked with that lamb, and just for how much you've tamed that lamb down, we're going to put you in the blue ribbon class as well today. Let's give him a nice round. Next two young men, I think both working, doing a nice job out here. Young man here, next in line, a little bit better on where you're setting feet and legs, especially that front end. Really get that front end up square, especially on this lamb, because that will make the rest of this lamb come into balance just a little bit better. Even now, he wants to tip to one side off of his hind legs. He wants to break that loin just a touch. That being said, you do a nice enough job. You're easily into that blue ribbon class today. Same thing with the young man here. Same thing with that second young man. Just set your feet and legs just a little bit better, more often than the time. Let's give them another hand before they go. The young lady here, get that lamb a little bit more base wide. Widen those back legs out. If you can, widen the front legs out just a little bit. That's really tough to do with lambs. That being said, you want to get the head a little bit too far forward. You almost need it up and then rake its nose up just a touch. That being said, you know, I was impressed with this novice group, and you worked really hard at getting this lamb out here and getting him around. You're going to be in my blues as well today. Let's give her a nice round of applause. Next two in line, you know, I'm going to say the same thing to you. I don't think you need that halter. I think it's more of a safety for you, and it's hard to let that go, especially being a novice, and I completely understand that. You had plenty of control of that weather lamb and where he's at. you could have left that at the gate and done just as well, if not better. That being said, you do a nice job getting this lamb around the ring, a little bit better on setting front end and holding the head of that lamb just a little bit better. And then the young lady here, really struggling trying to lead that lamb around. She doesn't want to lead off for you. When you get her set, you do a nice job. You have a tendency to want to bring that head to one side a little bit more so, and it almost makes that lamb lean just a little bit. But both of you, for me, put in enough effort, you're both going to be in the blues today as well. Let's give them a nice round of applause.
Yeah, I will.
Coming back from that class, we have June Schreiber and Casey James Schreiber. With a blue ribbon, we have Ellie Block, Macy Gonzalez, Kaylin Merritt, Gabe Murphy, Tyler Ruff, Timothy Schreiber, and Brett Schwartz. And with another purple, we have Tegan Reed. Coming in for our final round today, we have Amy McGarth, Malin Rooster, Annie Harris, Ray Lynn Sandberg, Tegan Reed, June Schreiber, and Kingston James Schreiber.
What do you guys think of this last group of novice? This is a pretty tough class. There's that top end, well, this whole class is really competitive as a group, that top especially. So I'm going to go through here and I will pick Grand and Reserve, and then 3, 4, and 5. I'll come back and talk about everybody just a little bit. Like I said in the hogs this morning, this is my opinion. They've asked me to come in and give you my opinion. Maybe you don't agree with it, but hopefully you'll understand why I placed them the way I did at the end. Not everybody's going to have the same opinion, and that's part of judging livestock. But at the end, hopefully at least you understand, or at least can recognize the way I did this, because this is a tough class. You can take about 3 of these and put them at the top end and be pretty correct. Let's give them a nice round of applause. They did a nice job. Okay, let's talk about this just a little bit. Like I said, everybody was really competitive, and I really appreciate that. My top 3, I'm going to talk about just here for a second. You do a really nice job with this lamb. Maybe getting that front end just a little bit more correct, especially on where you're holding that head, because at the time you have a tendency to tip towards the inside just a little bit. That being said, a wether that's really strout, really strong, really level out that top. And if that lamb would brace into you a little more consistently, you know, I think it would have been a little bit easier of a decision. But just really consistent as a showing, and I appreciate that. Obviously, there's a few little nitpicky things that we could talk about, but you know, I'm not going to sully it in that matter at all. the young lady over here in the reserve, that lamb helps you out quite a bit. That lamb walks into a set for you. That lamb will set up its back legs with just a little nudge from your knee. It gets a little tougher to try and set front end on that lamb. That being said, like, that lamb helps you out quite a bit, and you did a nice job, probably one of the most consistent showmen out here in terms of lambs. And then coming back to third over here, if you could set feet and legs a little bit more consistently, you probably would have been in that top 1 and 2 spot. This lamb is really tough though. Every time you set a leg, it wants to move it. Just a little bit, but it wants to move it. And so that's kind of what dropped you into third today in this class. Watching me let out the line, let out the class really, really well. How about a hand for your top 3? 4 and 5, a young lady here that I put into fourth, a little bit better on setting feet and legs and consistently where you're going. Even now, those legs are just a little bit out of whack. He wants to move them every time you set them. Same thing down here, a little bit more consistent on where you're setting feet and legs, but that lamb really struggled with trying to connect with you in this class. It didn't really want to brace up for you, it didn't really want to set up for you nearly as well. And it always seemed like throughout the entire class that lamb is just out of line, just a little bit unsquared to the rest of the class. I think had you done that, you would have been up in that top 1 and 2 spot, but that ewe lamb just was not working for you quite as well as I think you would have liked to. How about a hand for 4 and 5? The other 2 in this class are no slouches. The young lady down there at the end, that's really a tough lamb to try and show. It's so low to the ground and it gets a little bit lazy in its middle, and then you want to get its front legs a little bit too far forward and stretch that lamb out because you're trying to make it look longer bodied because it is just a short couple type of a lamb. That being said, very deserving to be in this last class. Same thing with the young lady here, a little bit more consistently on where you're setting, especially that front end of that lamb. And another lamb that was just consistently out of whack or out of line just a little bit from the rest of the group. An outstanding group of novice. Let's give them another nice round of applause before they go.
The grand champion novice showman receiving a duffel bag sponsored by Denny and Scarlett Iverson is Raylan Sandberg. Second place was June Schreiber. Third place, Annie Paris. Fourth place, Tegan Reed. Fifth place, Henson Jane Schreiber. We will now start our first class of senior showmen today. In that class we have Courtney Frank, Grace Fitz, Joshua Johnson, Savannah Kostecki, Leah Nelson, Madison Oberhofer, Anne-Marie Sowers, Adelaide Sugden, Brady Weering, Haley Wilski, and Katie Zander. Judge, this is your class.
How about a hand for this first class of seniors? Pretty deep class in terms of having a lot of really good showmen in this first class. Now, I know there was going to be a lot of showmen, and I know that there's some behind here in the next two classes that are some pretty good showmen, but this is a pretty deep class as it sits as well, and that's going to show by my callbacks. I'm going to take these 5 young ladies for that callback class. Now that doesn't make these other ones left that are any slouches by any means. That doesn't make these 5 that are left any slouches by any means. And I'm going to talk about a couple, because this young lady here in the blue jacket and this other young lady in the blue jacket, I really like your showmanship style. I wish those lines would have raced into you maybe just a little bit more, and then just they didn't want to be consistent on setting feet and legs in this class, and so I couldn't get you into that callback class in this one. I think you easily work into that blue ribbon class today, but those layers just weren't working for you nearly as well as I would have liked to have seen. Let's give both those young ladies a nice round of applause. They go out. Young man here with this other blue jacket, really like, you're a little bit more relaxed in your showmanship style, but I really appreciate your showmanship style for that aspect. This is a lamb that I just want to see set up a little bit better on the front end. It's really tough to try and set her up and get her correct, especially when she's just a little bit short from where it's almost comfortable for you to really set that head. That being said, easily into that blue ribbon class today in terms of seniors, and really I'm pretty harsh on seniors. I think they should know better by now, but he's going to be my blue ribbons. Let's give him a nice round of applause as he comes. Another young man with this ram, I think doing a nice job. Front end again. Widening out that front end, just getting a little more chest floor. You've got a really stout type of ram here. And I just wanted to see that front end set up just a little bit better, especially where a ram, for me, that's kind of in that weird spot in terms of his growth stage, where he hasn't quite filled out all the way. He's got a ton of middle, and then he kind of short up that back end. You've really got to get that front end set up just a little bit better. But again, another individual I think easily works into that blue ribbon class today for the young man. Let's give him a nice round of applause as he goes. She doesn't like to lead at all for you. It's hard because you had to spend so much time just holding her and keep her in one spot that you really didn't get a chance to really set feet and legs, really get her around the ring very well, and it was really tough for me to try and get a good look at what she is. That being said, I'm going to leave you in my regrets today just because she just doesn't want to work for you at all, and I think you're a better showman than maybe what she lets you display here, but I can't move you up any higher in terms of how she was responding to you in this class. Let's give her a nice round of applause. She goes back to the pen.
Am I not good enough to be your ring jockey? Okay.
With purple ribbons in that class, we have Courtney Frank, Savannah Kostecki, Leah Nelson, Anne-Marie Sowers, Haley Wolski. With blue ribbons, we have Grace Fritz, Joshua Johnson, Madison Oberhofer, Braden Weirin, and then with a red, we have Adelaide Sullivan. Coming in for our next class, we have Kylie Bigneck, Abby Finley, Asada Glidewell, Keely Hickson, Keegan Merritt, Sophie Reeves, Jace Riska, Autumn Cleveland, Stephanie Stone, Emmett Zander, Wyatt Zander, and Levi Hickson. Judge, this is your pass.
How about a hand for the second class of seniors? Again, another pretty competitive class. There's maybe a little bit more inconsistency in this class than the last class, but still a really good group of seniors. Maybe some things that we'll talk about a little bit, but I'm going to have some callbacks, and they're going to be pretty deep in this class as well. I am going to take these four. Coming into the rest of these, young lady right here, you do a nice job with a really tough ewe lamb. She's a little bit smaller frame, she's a little bit smaller. It's really tough to try and get her set up right. You do have a tendency to get the legs too far apart because you're trying to make her look a longer body than she actually is. That being said, you're easily into that blue ribbon class. I just want to see her set up just a little more correct to get you in that call back today. Let's give her a nice round of applause. Young man here with this ewe lamb. Man, my back hurts just watching you show that ewe lamb. It's a word, yeah. It's really hard because a ewe lamb that for me, I guess I would have liked to have seen this ewe lamb in the front end set up better, a little bit better for you. She doesn't ever want to stay consistent on her front end. She just doesn't want to set up. And then the way that you're over the top of her, she doesn't get her head and neck up just a little bit like I think she needs to for her balance and profile. I easily into the blue ribbons today. I just couldn't get you up any higher in terms of just having that front end a little bit better. Let's give him a nice round. Again, another little bit of a challenge with a smaller ewe lamb. She doesn't really want to set for you. It's really inconsistent the way she sets up for you and the way she stands for you. For me, getting her, especially her back end, out just a little bit, getting behind her just a little bit more. That being said, I think a really solid showman. Just a little bit too inconsistent to get you in that callback class today. She's in the blues as well. Let's give her a nice round of applause. There's a lot of work dragging her across that ring the first time. When she sets up, man, she stands for it. I mean, she will stick right where you set her. And that's what gets you to this next ribbon color in the class. But getting her around is just really a struggle. She just doesn't want to lead off. She also doesn't want to always keep her head for you in the correct spot where you want it. And so I can't get you up any further, but you are in that blue ribbon class today. Let's give her a nice round of applause. Again, another one that is, a lamb just does not want to stay consistent for you. A lamb that really needs to be widened in his chest floor a little bit, spreading apart those front legs, and then really a struggle. A lot of times you were bent over a little bit further than maybe I would have liked to have seen, and you didn't get that lamb's head up as much as me. And my personal preference is what I would have liked to have seen. That being said, this lamb just didn't set for you very well throughout most of the class. I still think you're in the blues pretty easily, but I just can't get you into that callback class for that reason. Let's give her a nice round of applause as well. This young lady is a little bit of a sleeper in the class because you don't notice her when she first comes in, but the more you watch her show this ewe lamb off, the more you really like her in terms of how her showmanship is with this ewe lamb. Ewe lamb that for me, I'd sure like to see you when you're leading her. She gets a little bit lazy when she's going around the ring, keeping that head up just a little bit, and then back feet and legs. Every time you'd set them, she'd move them just a little bit, or be off, or want to lean one way. You're easily in that blue ribbon class, and you work towards the upper end of this class. I just want to see a little more consistent on how she was showing for you and setting her feet and legs and keeping them there and holding that set for you. Let's give this young lady a nice round of applause as well.
Coming back with purples out of that class are Asada Glidewell, Levi Hickson, Keely Hickson, Keegan Merritt. With blue ribbons, we have Kylie Bignett, Adam Finley, Sophie Reeves, Jace Riska, Autumn Skloblin, and Sophie Stone. For our third class of seniors today, we have Ellie Butcher, Ellie Coyley, Jessica Curtis, Carly Gilliard, Kibram Glidewell, Emma Hamill, Diane Holland, Sydney Kostecki, Ann Oshner, Gabriel Slater, and Elena Yashimara. Judge, this is your class.
A really good last class of seniors. I'm going to go ahead and excuse those callbacks for that overall class so they can get ready. Let's give a hand to those 3 young ladies. Coming down the line, this was another one of those ones that I was really impressed with as a group of seniors. Doing a nice job. Again, there's some little things in terms of consistency and speed on how we set up and getting those lambs to where they're in the same spot every time and showing off to the best of their ability. I'm going to talk about this young lady over here first because I really wanted to get you in the callback class today. A lamb that for me, just when you really start to analyze how you're setting that lamb up, for me those hind legs, it would move them a little bit more. Even now, he just didn't want to stay very consistent for you. You're easily a blue ribbon showman all day long, don't get me wrong. I just wish he would have worked for you a little bit better to get you into that callback class today, and he just wasn't quite there. In this profile, he got a little bit lazy over there, wanted to drop his middle just a little bit and picking that up. And part of that was you got those front legs a little bit too far forward, but at the same time, she does a nice job of just a few little finesse things to get her into that callback. Let's give her a nice round of applause. The young lady next in line, maybe just a little bit more on where you're setting feet and legs, and especially a lamb. If you look at the front end right now, that lamb's head is actually off to the right side, but he's leaning almost into the left into you. It just brings a little bit of I guess that lamb doesn't balance up as well when that front end is like that. So I went back and forth on where I put you at. Really consistent, really even on how you were showing that lamb off. I just want to see a little bit differently on that front end. I still think I'm going to put you and nudge you into the blues today. It was right on the fence, but I think you did a nice enough job in terms of consistency that I'm going to put you into that category. Let's give her a nice round of applause as well. A lamb that's just a little bit tougher to try and show. This weather just, every time you turn around, he wants to move on you, he wants to shift, he wants to kind of get out of line a little bit. I think in my mind, you work into that blue ribbon class pretty easily, just for the amount of effort that you're putting into this bigger weather lamb, but a weather lamb that just was never consistent in how he was showed off. Setting his feet and legs a little bit more consistently. I think you did just enough, same as the last young lady was kind of on the fence, but I think you did just enough to get you into that blue ribbon class today as well. The young lady here, I think is a little better showman than this lamb. Lets her set off. The lamb, for me, doesn't really want to stay consistent on that front end. Every once in a while, I like catch you on the back side of that lamb, in between my vision of the lamb, especially down this one line when we were coming that way. Basically, that's just why I couldn't get you into that callback class today. I think you're a blue ribbon showman, but that lamb just isn't working for you quite as well in this class. Let's give her a nice round of applause. Young lady next in line is another one of those ones that you don't notice her right when she comes in, but the more you watch her, the more consistent she is. You know, at one time or another, I had you in that callback class out here just because this lamb, when you get this lamb set up, you do a really nice job. But then just like that, you watch it long enough and that lamb wants to step out of line and wants to come sideways to the rest of the class just a little bit. You're in my blues as well, but I couldn't get you any higher in terms of the way that lamb was showing consistently for you. Let's give her a nice round of applause as well. This is another one I really wanted to get you in that callback class today. This lamb just does not want to, it doesn't really want to brace, doesn't really want to stand on his back legs, doesn't really want to, and at times it even gets to where that top line, it comes up just a little bit, and that lamb just doesn't stay as consistent as I would have liked to have seen. Me too, she says. At the same time, I think you do enough to easily be in that blue ribbon class today, but just in terms of consistency and how this lamb was reacting to you, I can get you into that callback. Let's give her a nice round of applause as well. Next to no slouches in this showmanship class. The young lady here, I would have liked to have seen you spend just a little bit more time on the front end of this lamb, because the front end of this lamb is a little bit more important, being a little bit smaller type of a lamb. You really got to get that front end set almost exactly perfect, because it's a little bit coarse, you know, it's a little bit lighter lamb, and it's just a little bit more finish on it in terms of where it's at, and so you've really got to get that front end really correct in terms of that balance out. Young man down there at the end, again, lamb just not working for you quite as well as some of the other lambs do in the class. It's one of those things where I really think seniors should know better, but the last two group of seniors, they've done well enough to get into that next ribbon color, because they've done consistency. You can tell they've worked and they put in some effort. So these two are going to be in my blues as well today.
Coming back.
It takes a second, doesn't it?
Coming back with purples from that class, we have Harley Gilliard, Sydney Kostecki, and Ellie Coley. With blue ribbons in that class, we have Ellie Booker, Jessica Curtis, Kebra Glidewell, Emma Hamill, Diane Holland, Ann Oishner, Gabriel Slater, and Elena Yoshimara. Coming back for our senior final drive, we have Courtney Frank, Savannah Kostecki, Leah Nelson, Anne-Marie Sowers, Haley Wolski, Asaya Glidewell, Levi Hickson, Keely Hickson, Keegan Merritt, Harley Gilliard, Sydney Kostecki, and Ellie Coley. Judge decision class.
Okay. A really good group of seniors, really doing a lot of things. I'm going to spend just a little bit more time and work these individuals just a little bit more. But basically, I just want to make sure that the individuals out here know that they're doing a really, really nice job of showing their lambs off. A really good job of getting their particular lambs set up. So as we go through here, I'm going to move them around just a little bit more, and then I'll come back on the microphone. But I guess before we get any further, you know, you've got some of the best sheep showmen in the state, and you guys should really be proud of that. They're doing a nice job. Let's give them a nice round of applause. All right, seniors, I'm going to go out and pick your 1 through 5, and then I'll come back and talk about the individuals just a little bit. But like I said before, really, really great group of seniors doing a really nice job with their lambs. Like I said, I'll come back and talk about these things. the individuals that are out here, kind of what I saw, what I was looking at, but I think an outstanding group of seniors. Let's give them a nice round of applause. Okay, I want to talk about a couple other individuals because I've got about 3 more in here that were at one time in that contention in that top 5. One of them was this young lady down here at the end. You know, the hardest part about this ewe lamb is she will stick for you, but she won't lead for you very well at all. Getting her around the ring is a struggle, and it just takes time. I think if she would have led better for you, you probably would have been in that top 1 or 2 spot. You can tell how much you worked for it. You had her set up right. I mean, I'm not going to nitpick for some of the things, you know, here or there, a leg off or whatever, but she just didn't want to get around the ring for you very well. Let's give her a nice round of applause. Young lady out here at this other end, again, another one doing a phenomenal job. Had you in that top 5 here at one point or another. A ewe lamb that for me, I struggle with just a little bit, especially on the front end of that ewe lamb. You get her a little spread out for what I would prefer. You want to get those front legs a little bit too far forward. Even now, they're just a touch too far for me. That being said, no slouch in this class. She did an excellent job. She should be really proud. It kind of comes down to personal preference. And that's kind of where you can stick it today. But that being said, really good showman. Really like the way that lamb is showing off. Every once in a while, she gets a little lazy in the middle and doesn't want to set up for you quite as well. But let's give her a nice round of applause. She did a phenomenal job. This young lady right here is another one of those. I think for me, a little bit more consistently on where you're setting feet and legs. And you would have been in that top 5 today. A ewe lamb that I really like to see you widen out those back legs a little bit more. Most of the time they were there. Now she just took a step in, but really take advantage of that, especially with a heavier legged lamb like this. I think doing an excellent job. Let's give her a nice round of applause as she goes as well. I'm just going to come down the line now because these other 4 very competitive in this class, don't get me wrong. Another ewe lamb that just doesn't want to lead off for you very well. And again, for me, even now when I saw in this profile view over here, you have a tendency to lean into that lamb just a little bit, and it makes that lamb kind of come off to the side on that front end. Takes away a little bit of that balance when that lamb leans just a little bit. The young lady right here next in line, another one of those lambs that You do a really nice job, and this lamb will stick for you, and when she'll stay for you. She fidgets a lot here and there, and to get her top line just right is really tough. That being said, very competitive in this class. She did a nice job as well. Let's give both those young ladies a nice round of applause for them. Two individuals down here, just a little bit more consistent on feet and legs and where they're set up. The lamb furthest away from me, a lamb that wants to move in and fidget just a little bit. And this lamb, especially this weather lamb closest to me, same thing. So I just want to see those lambs set up just a little bit better and hold for you just a little bit more of the time. Let's give them a nice round of applause as well. Okay, I want to talk about these top 5 because you could probably come in here and flip around. And honestly, I had their top 3 in here. At one point or another, all 3 of you were in that top spot. For me, these 2 lambs that I put in the first and second, boy, they want to turn up in their talk just a little bit, and it almost makes that lamb look just a little bit unleveled on that top line, and it's really tough to try and get that straight because they get a little heavy-middled, they get a little sucked down, but you see these 2 young ladies doing a really nice job. For me, these 2 young ladies were probably more consistent in their showmanship style, and that's why they went first and second for me in this class. The young lady that I put in the third, a little bit different type of a lamb. Boy, that lamb is just as level as top as can be when you set that lamb up. For me, the lamb, and I don't know, you know this lamb more than I do. Absolutely, don't get me wrong. That lamb just didn't seem to want to brace up. He didn't want to see it push up as much as I would have liked to have seen today. Maybe that's a personal preference of mine. But that leg didn't show off as much today as maybe I would have liked to have seen, because that is a heavy leg lamb. And I guess I wanted to see just a little bit more definition on that. That's being pretty critical of our top 3 because they are 3 terrific showmen. How about a hand give them as they go? 4 and 5, the young lady here, real consistent, maybe not as flashy as our top 3 in terms of her showmanship style, and a lamb that for me has a few holes in it in terms of the way the lamb's set up. She's really got to get this lamb set up perfect in order to kind of cover those up a little bit, but you can tell she's right in the hunt in that top 3. For me, it was a little bit about where those legs are set and how that lamb held for you. Not quite as well in this class. The young man that I put into 5th, that lamb is just the same way every time you look at that lamb, and I appreciate that. A little bit better on where we're setting feet and legs and getting them a little bit more correct, but how about a hand for 4th and 5th?
The Grand Champion Senior Showman taking home a chair that was sponsored by Mary Tim Sizer, and who will have the opportunity to compete on Saturday in the round robin is Sydney Kostecki. 2nd place, Keely Hickson. 3rd place, Savannah Kostecki. 4th place, Leah Nelson. And 5th place, Levi Hickson.